Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new League of Legends video. So it definitely has been some time before I have updated any of my top 5 lists, and I thought what better list to start off with than the top 5 AP mid lane casters. So if you end up enjoying this video guys, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends. But before we go into the number 5 spot, I think we should all take a moment of silence and pay our respects to Azir this patch. But in all honesty, whether or not Azir is actually still relevant or still strong this patch is still yet to be decided, as it definitely will take a bit more time. But as usual with these top 5 lists guys, don't forget that this is a mix of my personal opinion on top of what I just see being extremely good in solo queue based on stats and based on what I see people playing the most. And the number 5 and 4 spot are going to be champions which I honestly think can be swapped out for many other AP champions right now in the current meta and in this patch. But on the other hand, the top 3 AP mid lane casters I have listed for this video, I'm almost positive are by far the best champions you can pick for mid lane if you want to play an AP mage. But without further ado, let's go to the number 5 spot. So starting it all off is going to be Xerath, a champion most mid laners should be familiar with. Like I said, there are many champions that could have fit this spot instead of Xerath, but I decided to put him here because I feel like he really is just a powerhouse champion. I mean, he has an amazing amount of damage that he can constantly be dishing out, whether it's in the team fights, laning phase, when you're sieging down, whatever the case may be. And with the tank meta definitely dying down, a lot of the champions nowadays are a bit more squishy, and Xerath being extremely adept when it comes to killing these kind of champions. He can sit back constantly dishing out a huge barrage of damage. He's extremely strong in the laning phase again for the same reason, because it's hard to get to him and he can always be dishing out damage at you. Easily one of the best wave clear and poke type champions in the game, and he has a long range stun and slow ability. And then you have his ultimate that is insanely good at picking off champions as they're running away or easily hitting the backline and putting them in a high amount of pressure. However, the cons of Xerath is the fact that again he is a purely skill shot oriented type champion, so I mean if you do miss a lot of his abilities, well, you're not going to be super useful. And even though his ultimate can be extremely effective, it's also not very easy to land. I have been noticing with a lot of Xerath players, including myself, that if you tend to miss the first ultimate shot, you're going to probably miss the next two. And even though he does have great range on his abilities and a lot of damage coming out, he does not have any built-in escapes, which could obviously be a problem, especially if you're getting ganked or dove. But a worthy champion to start off this list. Moving forward to the number 4 spot is going to be Lux. Now a lot of people do know that I started playing a lot of Lux and I have been getting pretty good success with this champion as well. So the fact that I have her in the number 4 spot could be a little biased on my end, but she does have a very good win ratio from Platinum and above. And I also recommend checking out my Lux video on my channel if you want more in-depth information on how to play this champion and everything you need to know. But the reason I love Lux so much and I put her in the number 4 spot is because she's a very safe yet strong AP mid laner, which is why a lot of the times you can build a Mejai's on her and still do well. Much like Xerath, which is a champion I usually compare Lux with, she can easily catch people off with her Q ability, or for example Xerath with his E ability. But the fact that I like Lux more than Xerath personally is the fact that I feel like she has better team fight presence thanks to her W being the shield for her team, easily granting you assists and saving teammates in the bad situation. But you can also leave her E ability to linger for quite a while, providing the extra slow for the enemy team, while also dealing a substantial amount of AoE damage. And then you have her ultimate, which will probably have around 30-second cooldown at rank 3 with 40% CDR. It has insane range, huge damage, and it synergizes very well with her burst and her kit since it does proc her passive. A lot of the times you see me go the summoner spell barrier because a lot of people will not be respecting the amount of shield you can instantly gain with your W and a summoner barrier. So when they go in for the dive, you pop both of these bad boys and then suddenly you have half HP of shield and you can easily turn around the situation. Overall, a very control oriented version of Xerath that is definitely more defensive, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. But the cons is again, like Xerath, she is purely skill shot oriented. She's missing one damaging spell, of course, being her W, which again is not necessarily a bad thing. I just feel like a lot of people will be misusing this ability. But speaking of misusing, she can be a bit mana reliant if you don't use her abilities properly and in the right succession, or if you can't CS enough and get the mana from your Dorans per kill. Overall, a champion I personally enjoy playing and have great success with, and I do recommend trying her out. But let's finally move into the top 3 AP mid lane casters, which I'm almost positive again are simply the best champions to pick right now if you're looking to play an AP caster. And starting it all off is going to be what I think is one of the most well-rounded AP mid laners in the entire game for a very long time, Ahri. The reason she's so good is because she has so much in her kit. Her passive gives her great sustain in the laning phase, she has insane wave clear with her Q, and the fact that it also deals true damage. Her W has very good single target damage, while of course her Q being more AoE type damage. She has really good catch potential with her E ability, making them walk forward to you, while also combining it with her ultimate, easily being able to gap close and catch someone off even better. But speaking of her ultimate, I mean, this is something most mages in the mid lane do not have: insane mobility, to the point where she's played almost like an assassin and not really a mage like a Xerath or a Lux. So with that being said, it's hard to gank her and it's easy to gank for her. Combining everything makes it so you have very good teamfight control, being able to almost conduct a teamfight as you see fit. Her laning phase is also quite strong, she scales very well, and all around is just a solid pick for mid lane, especially right now with the current meta. The only cons of Ahri is the fact that she is a mid-range caster, so she's going to be more or less in your face when she's going in, which can result into her getting picked off or caught very easily. And for most of the time, her kit does rely on her being able to land her charm, but it's not completely 100% reliant either. Overall, Ahri is finally getting some much deserved love, and I do recommend playing her. Moving into the number 2 spot is going to be Twisted Fate, who's one of my personal favorite champions in the entire game for a very long time. He has a very fun and somewhat challenging kit, but it also requires you to always be paying attention, which is a trait that most mid laners should have. And there's a very common thing among mid laners to say that if you cannot play TF, you cannot play mid lane. But regardless, going into the pros of this champion, amazing wave clear with his Q dealing full damage to everyone, on top of the red card being able to help you with the wave clear as well. One of the main things in the reasons I personally love Twisted Fate is his W ability giving you so many options. Do you need sustain for mana? Throw out the blue card. Do you want more damage? Throw out the blue card. Do you want an AoE slow control for the teamfight because the enemy team is grouped? Boom, throw out the red card. Do you want to lock down one target to CC them for your team or for the gank? Throw out the gold card. Having options in a kit and not being forced to play only one specific way is a huge plus. But his ultimate is probably the main reason why Twisted Fate is just so darn strong in solo queue. It lets him dictate the flow of the whole game heavily because he can easily push out his lane thanks to his superb wave clear, and then he can roam top, bottom, or even somewhere in the jungle with his ultimate and easily catch someone off guard, because most people, especially in solo queue, will not respect the Twisted Fate ultimate. And now that the tank meta again is dying off, he can deal much more damage to the current meta type champions, being a lot more squishy. But a great thing about his ultimate too is the fact that if a huge team fight does erupt and you want to get to the backline because maybe their front line just happens to be way too tanky for you to go through, you can easily pop your ultimate, use it to teleport behind the enemy lines all the way in the back line where the squishies are, and then assassinate one person. He scales very well, especially with Lich Bane, and if you have your E ready to go, your Lich Bane, and then you throw out your W, I mean, if the target is a squishy, that plus your Q is most likely going to be a kill. And just overall, a very solid champion who, if you have not been playing him, or you have never played him, or you kind of are on the fence of picking him up or not, this is the time to do it. The cons is the fact that he can be bullied in the lane, not having the best of laning phases, and he's not really the easiest champion to play because it requires a lot of focus. But one of my personal favorites and easily one of the best champions to play in solo queue to carry. And last but most definitely not least is going to be Victor in the number 1 spot. Now I truly do not think this should be a surprise to anyone, especially if you play mid lane, because this guy is just an absolute monster in the mid lane. Probably the true definition of a powerhouse AP mid lane carry. He has great laning phase because his Q with the shield gives him not only great damage, but the shield helps you win the trades that much easier. His E ability has pretty good range, but once you finally get that first upgrade for it and you make it have extra damage and the second part of the effect, you're gonna easily clear a wave, have insane amount of damage, and overall just a solid ability. Insane burst from his whole kit when you Q, auto attack E, and use your ultimate. And on top of this, he also has great sustain damage because his Q, if you have 40% CDR or at least around 30%, your Q is only going to be about 3-second cooldown. So not only are you getting the move speed constantly dishing out this Q every 3 seconds, but you're getting the shield to save yourself from a bad situation while also dealing an absurd amount of damage with the auto attack. But on top of having pretty good wave clear, great harass, and overall overall just great burst and sustained damage. He also has AoE control with his W, especially once you upgrade it. And finally, he scales very well, again thanks to his E ability and his Q, especially if you go for the Lichbane route. All in all, this guy has almost everything you would want in an AP mid laner right now. Wave clear, damage, burst, sustained damage, AoE control, a great laning phase, scales very well. The only thing he doesn't have, and that's one of the cons of course, is he has no built-in escapes. But also his E can be awkward to cast if you're not used to it, which you should be used to casting after just a few games. But then you have his W, which I see a lot of Victors mess up and place incorrectly. But other than that, easily the best mid laner right now to play in solo queue and just in general. But that is it for this video, guys, of my top 5 AP mid lane casters for patch 5.14. If you did enjoy this video, if you learned something new or maybe got inspired to play one of these champions, please definitely throw in a like as it helps me quite a bit. Share it with your friends, subscribe if you haven't, check out my other videos as well. And I really hope to see you for the next video. Thanks for watching, peace.